Life show hosted by Frederick Entenmann on Global Voice Radio on Fridays at 10 a.m. Eastern. During his show, Mind Body Life founder and best-selling author Frederick Entenmann investigates the little-known insights and daily methods used to create explosive life transformations and transitions with those that have risen from struggle and ascended to greatness. Here is your Mind Body Life host, Frederick Entenmann.
Welcome to the Mind Body Life show. I am your host, Frederick Entenmann. I'm a former professional athlete, best-selling author of Surviving Sports in the Game of Life, coach, consultant. I help athletes and executives and future leaders achieve mind, body, and life harmony. Thank you so much for joining me today. This is episode 9, and I have to tell you I'm extremely excited because I'm going to talk about my number one expertise, which is human potential. What is potential and how can you get more out of your life? And this is a conundrum that most people want to know the secrets to. They want to achieve the highest states of human performance and potential and do all these great things and constantly ask me, what's the secret? What do I need to do? I'll do anything. Well, first I want you to keep in mind that any and every successful individual in the eyes of I guess, let's just say the 1%. The 1% that have achieved great success. So the Michael Jordans, the Michelangelos, the Serena and Venus Williams, Tom Brady's of the world. The very, very rare individuals all have coaches to hold them accountability. They know that in order for them to achieve that growth, they seek that out. So they're pushed and held accountable every single day, and they follow through, and then they execute upon those actions. I'm just going to go back, personally, I always thought school was a great model of human potential. And if you actually look at it, it's the ultimate form of accountability. You have to be there at a certain time. You're going to have all these knowledgeable experts teaching you the way. But you know what? Personally, this is more or less of where you're at in your journey. I always thought school was a boring mess. I didn't like the entire quote unquote system. I just thought it was always so subordinate and controlling, and at the end of the day, boring. I was the daydreamer. I was quite a mediocre student at school. Never quite a straight A, always A's and B's, but I'd always get that B when I knew deep down it should have been an A. And I always felt stuck in this boring place, which I now realize I just didn't pursue past that. I just didn't understand how to grow. So I created somewhat of the wrong attitude and belief about school. But in all seriousness, it was boring as heck. I do specifically remember several teachers, in fact, that wrote in my school reports, Frederick shows promise. He has so much potential to do better. And I hate to actually, I actually came to hate that comment, I think. Yeah, it's a strong word, but it really got under my skin and made me feel as if I was always trying to catch up and just chase after some perfect version of myself that was somewhere out there in the future. But then, no matter how hard I tried, I just could never quite reach it. And I know people feel like that right now. And this thing, whatever it was, I knew I was fully capable without a doubt. But I never quite succeeded at it. But that was school. I just want to fast forward to today. Who would have guessed that my work is to actually now help people unleash their gifts and realize their potential, their mind, body, life potential. But I just want to be honest, I simultaneously love and kind of, and just regard this phrase. I love the idea of helping someone unleash a possibility that they have for their life, the possibility for them to step into their so-called greatness or potential. But I kind of dislike it because it implies that who we are right now is diminished and it's just not good enough. So it's true that my teacher's comments left me feeling inadequate and half-baked, but the real truth is I was, and I am, and always have been, whole and perfect and complete. And I'd like you to understand that. In every human's journey, nobody's is the same because there's nobody like you. And, like many of my clients, I can believe that unleashing my potential is about me making more money or becoming this brilliant, famous guy in my work and writing these bestsellers and driving a Mercedes. But is this really what reaching our potential is all about? Is it really about gaining and achieving and acquiring all this stuff? And if it's true, then we're already whole and perfect. Why do we feel the call to stretch ourselves and strive for more? Just about everyone I've spoken to, they know there's more inside, and it's that reaching and knowing that causes great distress. And why are we always searching for that job that pays more money or allows us to take on a leadership role or just a higher role in general? What is this drive we have that pushes us to break out of our perceived ordinariness? And I'm continually, by the way, redefining my definition of what it means to live up to your potential. And here's kind of what I came up with. Our full potential is when we allow ourselves to be fully and completely expressed through creativeness in our life. It's when we don't allow anything outside of us, the criticisms or judgments or the haters, like people say, anyone from outside, from others, and from ourselves as well, to stop us from doing what we really want to do in our life. I'm convinced I like this definition because it's not just about getting or acquiring stuff, but about seeing the stuff as a vehicle, kind of like a conduit for full self-expression to play out. And you may not have the stuff or these things you want yet, but you're actually getting small flashes or glimmers of how it feels to unleash your potential all the time. If you just take a step back and look, I've experienced many such moments. It's actually when I felt truly tuned in and connected to something larger and more expansive, and a bigger version of myself begins to emerge. It's a possibility. It's kind of like getting a sneak preview of what could be possible for myself. That makes sense. And for sure, these have been my highest and richest days, actually, and I remember them well. Here's just a few examples of how it happened. When I would relax, let go, and just trust my intuition. I call it the flow. I've had some flow states when I was pursuing my doctorate and discussing literature at these giant round tables in graduate school in Germany. And mind you, it was in the German language, which I actually had to learn. So it's always uncomfortable with Germany's and Europe's finest students. But the words would come out of my mouth that felt actually transformative for me. And then the feedback would be also for them. And, this also happened when I would tell someone unabashedly and unashamedly that I truly loved them. But when your heart's in it, That's kind of like when time stops, The truth will get you to this place every time. You have nothing to hide. So going back to the truth will always get you in this state. It's also when I allowed my surprisingly introverted self to speak up in front of others and be heard, and taking on that leadership role and not being afraid, or when I would speak up in past meetings and risk kind of sounding awkward or stupid, when I would dare to write something that made me feel vulnerable and exposed. Because for those of you who don't know, I'm 6'8" and 262 pounds. Don't really feel like I need to be vulnerable and exposed all the time. It's, when I had the courage to tell someone that the not so pretty and pleasant truth about me, or when I felt despair and gave myself permission to kind of talk about it openly, when I had the courage to feel I needed to leave several jobs that made me actually feel small and underutilized, and when I could admit to myself that my life was not going well also. These are just some examples I came up with real quick. Look, there's nothing wrong with going after the stuff you think you want. The world's like a giant playground. We all know that. It's where we get to explore and desire and attract and acquire the things we actually think that will make us happy, right? But unleashing your potential may look like going for a new job, or stepping up as a CEO of a company, or becoming more visible in the world and illuminated like a Hollywood star, or making more money, or writing a book, whatever. It's all good. But it's who you get to be while you're on your way to getting them. How are you going to fully express yourself to achieve them? And are you going to pinch yourself off? Are you going to hold yourself back, actually listen to the inner and outer criticism? Or are you going to step into the full expression of the real you? The so-called perfect version of you is not out there in the future waiting for you to catch up with it, as my young self used to think. It's already within you, wanting to come out. And the more you express that, the more you're going to achieve your potential. The less you achieve that, the more you're going to push that inside, and things like anger, depression, emotions, undesirable emotions are going to come out. And that's when the bad behaviors start masking that, because we're not in full expression. Makes sense? So I guess some ways to identify your potential as life is again, powerful questions. I always go back to powerful questions when I'm with my clients and we try to get down to the nitty gritty. What am I meant to do in life? What's my ultimate potential? I always hear things like, I know I have more to offer, but I don't know what. I totally feel confused in my life. Where do I start? The problem is actually the way forward, is how I look at it. And so identifying your potential in life is important to your overall happiness and that feeling of fulfillment in life. So it's this discovery process. It's discovering what makes you tick. That's really integral to identifying your own potential, okay? So knowing what you're good at and what you want to do in life will make your life more satisfying and fulfilling, and actually you'll create more opportunities to just be. Once you're comfortable in knowing and being, then wow, things are really going to open up. So don't underestimate it. Don't underestimate this process. If you're struggling to figure out your strengths and ability to accomplish things, it can be helpful to take some time to get in touch with your own potential. So you need to take action, okay? What do you love to do? I would suggest writing it all down. It could just be simple things. Start with, make my car shine, or complete a 10-page quarterly report on my project at work. And your passion, okay, in a specific area, it's going to enhance your abilities to achieve any related activities. So if you love to listen to guitar music, for example, and you're taking lessons, you'll no doubt be motivated to try to play your best and produce that lovely music that you know is possible. And I also, while I'm talking about this, I want to be exclusively specific about passion. I think in general it's a pretty misunderstood concept, but it's basically that burning desire, that fire in the belly. Do you leap out of bed every day full of passion? How many times do you hear that? And it's that enthusiasm for all the activities that lie ahead of you that's in alignment with you. That creates the passion. All towards that bigger vision, of course, that you have for yourself. Or then there's the opposite. You almost have to look at the opposite to understand the other half, right? Yin and yang. Has your life become a plodding ground of dullness and drudgery, and you're dying to pay the bills and meet the obligations, and leaves that kind of stuckedness leaves you bored and unsatisfied? Well, it wasn't always so, right? It wasn't always this way. And I always go back to childhood as well. When you're a kid, you used to bounce out of bed because you just couldn't stay there a moment longer, when there were so many exciting things to do. Everything was exciting. Remember that? I do. And you had these wild dreams of being whatever, an explorer, an actor, an adventurer, a pirate or dancer, firefighter. Anything was possible, like anything. I remember thinking like that and playing into it. And there were things you loved to do so much. If you allowed, you'd spend the entire day doing nothing else but this. And it's funny how passion gets worn down as we grow up. Okay, it's obviously different for kids and different for those lucky kids whose parents actually encourage them to try new things and develop those new skills so they could find their unique path in life. And lucky or not, we all have to grow up and then take on these adult responsibilities. That's not a bad thing, but there is a risk that devoting ourselves exclusively to fulfilling our obligations can crush our souls and then drain that meaning from life. So we can literally forget that there are things we care ardently about, or we can conclude that it's just impossible to do what we'd really love to do and still be a responsible adult. And it's why we need passion to get the most out of life. When we feel that the drive and enthusiasm, that we can give ourselves wholeheartedly to what we're doing and find it worthwhile, we'll put in the long hours, we'll battle every obstacle, we'll do whatever it takes somehow. And the satisfaction and joy we get from feeling that we're doing what we're meant to be doing, giving full expression to our unique talents and skills, is incomparable. That's the zest. That's the fulfillment. Can we get it back though? Can you put the meaning back into life? These are questions that come to me all the time that people want to know, that are burnt out or dissatisfied, despite being a CEO, despite being a professional athlete, despite being an actor, an entrepreneur who's already made it. And I go back to, well, what do you actually love to do? LOVE, love. That's the ultimate power. Comes from your heart, and you have to get back to that, okay? If you sit down cold turkey and try to think that you really love to be doing, or how on earth you could do that in your present circumstances. I know it can feel a bit forced and unnatural, but the long established patterns of your daily life will hold you kind of in their grip, okay, convincing you that this is how things must be, and there's no point arguing. So what you need is something to take you out of that box. And I just want to say, if you've lost your passion, or that true authentic passion within, I think it's time we talk, because things that I cover with my coaching is kind of how to transform those fresh new ideas bubbling up in your mind into action, or recreate your recollections of past enthusiasms and your interests, or construct creative ways to actualize your plans that come easy to you, and create more opportunities to engage in new pursuits that will present themselves once you're passionate, and then kind of rekindle a new zest for life that blazes within you. That's living, when you have that inner fire. So one thing I learned as an educator, because I taught language arts for 1 year, is listen to what others say about you. Even as a coach, that I coached high profile athletes at universities, whether you consider it constructive or not, you can filter that out, but listen to what others say about you. And although you'll have your own concept of who you are and what you're good at, and paying attention to what others say about you, it's going to offer insight into some of your talents and skills you might not have even considered. And is very valuable, because what other people see as your strengths, you'll most likely be areas that you perform well in. And when you gain valuable information by listening to others' comments about you and to you, you're going to be surprised at what you can learn through this. And it is just a very, very helpful feedback type of exercise. So I highly recommend it. Another thing that I recommend is kind of put all preconceived notions aside. Go somewhere, relax, and ask yourself, what is your dream career? What is your dream job? And just let it come out, and be honest, be truthful. Because throughout life, you've perhaps thought about one or two, probably more careers you enjoy, right? Maybe as a child, you wanted to be a doctor. During your adolescent years, you loved archaeology and thought you'd go into a related career or something. But now, as an adult in the working world, is this the job you truly want? You need to be honest, okay? If you'd rather be doing something else, what would that be? Let your mind go. You want to work on a cruise ship that travels from one Caribbean island to another, or you dream about working in the fashion industry. Maybe you've always wanted to own your own restaurant, or you're just cooking for everyone. I don't know. But the point is that when a particular idea has struck you over the years, you'll no doubt be highly motivated to make it happen, and then fulfill your potential. All going back to potential, okay? I think for me, what I learned most through my own personal journey is you have to surround yourself with people you love. And I'm not talking about family or even friends. It's people that inspire you. It's people that support you, people that push you to be greater and see more of yourself. It's not a competition. I can't stress this enough. Everyone wants to compete. This is a 1980s Manhattan model that it doesn't work. It's proven to burn people out and make them miserable. We don't need to compete. You're supposed to be unique and offer your uniqueness to the world. You don't need to be like anyone else. So if you're in an environment where it's so competitive and your teammates are more like frenemies who give 2 cents about you, it's time to move right now. I'm telling you. If you're in a high pressure environment that supports the ladder climbing, or you have the kind of those two-faced people that are talking behind your back, and you can tell you can cut that tension with a knife. It's so easy to recognize. Or maybe you have an egotistical or narcissistic boss, or coach, or teachers. It's everywhere. And so on and so on. This will never get you to your potential in this environment, okay? But the people who love you and who you love and inspire you to go for what you actually want in life, they're going to nurture, they're going to support, and they're going to encourage you. So ensure that you have plenty of loving and caring people around you to provide that inspiration to fuel your potential. Hey, it might not even be readily available to you, but the more you work on yourself, I promise this support system will appear. Happened to me personally. And lastly, look, maybe all this is a lot very overwhelming to you, and you have negative thoughts in your head saying, no way, not me, not possible. Look, I've been in those shoes as well. And it's a big reason of why I'm doing what I'm doing now is, if you actually want to reach your potential quicker, I think the number one thing that anyone can do is invest in themselves. Hire a coach, because a coach is going to help you cultivate your greatest joy, your greatest interest, your greatest talent. And obviously it's going to be a person who excels in personal development. I don't know if I'm not a match for everyone, but an effective coach is going to help you identify and then even fulfill your potential. There's various different kinds of coaches. I think people have such a misconstrued perception as if there's something wrong with them. Actually, the only thing I see wrong is not seeing the value in growing out of whatever is keeping you in the place that you're in, that you're even complaining about, that you're miserable in, and suddenly you become a victim. When you have a coach or consultant who thoroughly knows what is close to your heart, you'll actually, once you invest in yourself, you'll push yourself through the discovery of everything to learn more and excel in the area that you choose to pursue, actually. So once again, I just can't stress enough how important it is to invest in yourself, not just once, but over and over again, until you actually find that place that you've been yearning to get to and just be. You'll know when you get there. You'll know exactly when you get there. And that, in a nutshell, is basically what I wanted to cover in terms of potential and human potential. I could go on and on about this stuff, but I just want to thank you so much for being on this episode with me. And I also want to encourage you that if you're in a place in your life that you feel stuck or distracted or unfulfilled, maybe you're confused, maybe you're depressed. I've felt all these things. I've been there. Whatever the reason may be, okay, you're certainly not alone. And there is always a way out. There's always a way out in any situation. You're not the only one that's ever felt these emotions. You're not the only one that's ever had an unfulfilling career or job or relationship, okay? At the end of the day, I want you to remember that you make a huge difference. You actually make a huge difference, because in all honesty, there's nothing else. There's nobody else but you. There's nobody else like you, and there's nobody else with your fingerprint. So keep that in mind and work on your mindset, your body set, your life set, so that you can reach your full potential and contribute your own unique signature. How awesome would that be? Again, I'm Frederick Entenmann. I am the founder of Mind Body Life. This is the Mind Body Life show. I am on Instagram if you'd like a little inspiration and motivation in your day. Please go to Facebook and ask to join my Mind Body Life team. Team Mind Body Life. Type that in and it's free. I'd love to have you on the team. I'm on LinkedIn. And lastly, if you really want to push your human potential and go to a different place in your life and work on your personal growth, I'm always here. I'm a coach, I'm a consultant, and I love to get people to be their best expression of themselves. Thanks again so much, and I will see you hopefully on the next show. Take care.
Thank you for joining us. Listen every Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern to Frederick Entenmann host Mind, Body, Life. Connect with Frederick at www.globalvoiceradio.com. Tune in next week for another edition of Mind, Body, Life on Global Voice Radio